Alright my dear friends, we have a massive Star Wars video today, some huge reveals from the Legacy of Vader comics, and now we're on issue number 2, and as the title suggests, this is the issue where Kylo Ren meets an Order 66 survivor. That comes near the end of the issue, but we need to set the scene. There are so many other gems, from Shmi to Padme, you don't want to miss this one. The story takes place in between the events of The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, in between episodes 8 and 9. Snoke is dead. Kylo Ren is now Supreme Leader of the First Order. He feels the internal struggle between light and dark, and so in order to resolve this, he tries to follow in the legacy of Darth Vader, tracing the former steps of his grandfather. And you know, this brings up a question I often see being asked. Why didn't anyone tell Kylo that Anakin was redeemed in the end? He was, but Snoke brainwashed him into thinking it was a moment of weakness, undoing all the hard work he did to bring Rise to the dark side. And so Kylo believed it. He wanted to finish what Vader couldn't. It wasn't that he didn't know Anakin was brought back to the light. It was more that Kylo saw it as a failing, something which had to be corrected. In the last issue, he went to Vader's castle on Mustafar, where we found out that Varney, a Vader loyalist who we saw in Rogue One, is somehow still alive. All that is left of him is his head. His brain is being kept alive by an artificial body, and so he guides Kylo on his journey to retrace his grandfather's footsteps. They start on Tatooine. Kylo learns a lot. He learns that Anakin was once a Boonta Eve pod racer. He also learns Tatooine is where Anakin first met Padme, and also the Jedi. But this is where we get some huge reveals. Kylo is absolutely mortified when he learns that Anakin and his mother Shmi were slaves. And when he learns this, Kylo fantasizes that as Darth Vader, Anakin returned to Tatooine and slaughtered Watto. This was also in the preview for the comic, but it turns out, my dear friends, we've been misled. It was a red herring. It was just Kylo Ren's imagination. So while there was a lot of fan outrage, they killed Watto in a comic. It never actually happened. The canon fate of Watto is still entirely unknown. But Kylo is furious. And then Varney tells him the Toydarian junk dealer wasn't the only person who owned Anakin and his mother. Before Watto, it was Gardulla the Hutt. Prior to the Phantom Menace, she owned Anakin and Shmi, but lost them to Watto in a bet. She was one of the scummiest members of the Hutt clan, and Kylo finds out she's still alive, so she becomes his next target. Varney tells Kylo, "Your grandfather Anakin was just 9 years old when he won the Boonta Eve pod race. He was still a slave." Kylo is confused. "What did you say?" "Oh yes, I heard all the stories. Anakin Skywalker and his mother, your great-grandmother Shmi, were both slaves." Kylo doesn't know what to say. That can't be. "But he joins the Jedi Order." Varney responds, "Oh yes he did. The Jedi took Anakin once they understood the scope of his power. Not his mother though. They left Shmi in bondage to find her own way."
Those Tuscans walk like men, but they're vicious. I hate them!
Kylo is enraged. Of course they did. "Yes, but do you not see, young Ren? From the very beginning, Vader's life was a crucible. Unending toil, an existence of agony in chains. It was what he rose above, the blade in his soul slicing away all that held him back, so he might rise to greatness. I'm sure you can relate, Kylo Ren. You are also very powerful. I would guess that from your earliest days, you too walked a path of pain." And so this is a very important moment in the comic, and it foreshadows Kylo's return to the light in episode 9, because his childhood was not full of pain, it was full of love, and we see some of his earliest memories, spending time with the father he killed, Han Solo, his mother Leia, Chewie, Lando, his training with Luke, and family dinners during the days of the New Republic. Nothing but bliss, protection, training, and an abundance of love. He was even able to spend weekends with R2-D2 and C-3PO. There wasn't much pain, apart from what he put himself through. So when Varney says, "Surely you can relate to pain," Kylo Ren remembers the days where he was Ben Solo, and realizes he had more as a child than Anakin could ever dream of. However, the Supreme Leader saves face and says, of course I did." Now before he goes on a mission to kill Gardulla, we have a huge reveal that concerns Luke Skywalker. Luke's face-off during the Battle of Crate has become legendary throughout the galaxy. Even his homeworld of Tatooine heard about it. How Luke stood up to the First Order. And while Luke himself was on Ahch-To and it was just a Force projection, it is still taken as a historic moment. Some random smugglers come up to Kylo and say this: "I see you're looking at the winners list. One of our kind actually won the big race once. Anakin Skywalker was his name." I've been hearing that name a lot recently. Not Anakin, but Skywalker, I mean. Word on the street is that Luke Skywalker took out an entire First Order fleet. He distracted them so that the Resistance could live to fight another day. And this angers Kylo. He says, "Is that what you've heard?" Probably. Anyway, this has been a nice chat, but we're gonna need to take your credits now. Keep your hands up and away from your weapons. Make it tough for us, and we'll take your lives too. As you would expect, they were no threat to Kylo. He wipes them out. During his fit of rage, lightsaber ignited, Kylo Ren demands the name of the person who owned Anakin. They go to Watto's shop, but it's ruined. So he assumes Watto was killed. Bhavane says if he was, it was not Vader's doing. So then he gets the name of Gardulla the Hutt, and he travels to her fortress. This is very important to note. She does not have constituency over Boba's palace, formerly Jabba's palace. This means that Boba Fett probably still reigns during the sequel trilogy, or if Boba is dead, Fennec Shand. Nonetheless, Gardulla is an outcast. She has her own menagerie, her own guards, and her own fortress. Kylo Ren is an unwanted guest. He fights through some guards and even some rancors. Gardulla the Hutt bellows, "Well, you certainly wanted to see me in a hurry, didn't you? You treated my rancors with great disrespect. I expect you to pay me back." Kylo responds, "Expect whatever you want. I'm not responsible for the choices of your idiot guards. They should have let me pass. I owe you nothing. Are you here to discipline me, you worm? Were you sent to stop me from reclaiming my former glory? I suppose I should be flattered that you consider me a threat. But Gardulla the Hutt will rise again." So it seems like she has plans to take back Jabba's palace, or at least return to a position she was once in. And I just want to say that is a political tension I would love to see explored in a different story. So then, Kylo Ren ignites his lightsaber, revealing she used to own his grandfather. And she retaliates with, "That is no crime in Hutt space. Not now, and certainly not then. What is your name, worm? My name doesn't matter, and neither does his. The past dies. That is all that matters." And this is poetic with what he says to Rey in The Last Jedi. Let the past die. Kill it, if you have to. But just as he starts attacking the rest of her guards, there is a very strange small Force user who uses the Force to grab his lightsaber off him. I think this is the mystery Order 66 survivor, and whatever this thing is, it's being used by Gardulla. She's taken precautions against Force users. This creature is enslaved, and it tells Kylo, "The Force is weak with you." They really pushed it in the marketing, but Charles Soule said there's only one, and it's on Tatooine. It's a new character, and so I think it's this guy. And before he can finish his sentence, the creature force pushes him, and then Kylo ends up enslaved. Obviously, because we know he escapes by the time of episode 9, I think Gardulla's gonna lose, and Kylo's gonna fight his way out. But this issue was so exciting, so much action, so many new reveals. What do you guys think? Share your thoughts on all of it in the comments down below. And did you enjoy this kind of video, the comics breakdown? If you liked it, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.